You're not good enough. You're unworthy. You are useless. Hurtful, terrible things to say to someone. But the real tragedy is not that people say these things to others. The real tragedy is, all too often, we say them to ourselves. In the 1800s, there was a woman named Charlotte Elliott who believed she was useless until one sentence spoken to her by a family friend changed everything and set Charlotte on a path to touch the hearts of millions. Charlotte Elliott was born in Brighton, England in 1789. Her family was successful. She was a gifted artist, a musician, a writer. She was also a favorite in Brighton's social circles. She seemed to be living an incredibly happy and productive life. But all that changed when Charlotte was 32 years old. She developed a severe illness that caused her to battle a constant fatigue, and her condition grew worse and worse. Soon, Charlotte was practically an invalid, unable to even stand for more than a few brief moments. Simple daily life was now devastatingly difficult for this woman who was once the picture of youthful joy and energy. It wasn't only Charlotte's body that suffered. Her illness had taken away Charlotte's vivaciousness and left behind an almost hopeless feeling of despair. She would sometimes lie awake in bed for hours at night, weeping and sobbing, "Useless. I am so useless." She became convinced that only a miracle from God could turn her life around, but she felt unworthy even to pray. She carried around quite a bit of guilt because of her, let's say, colorful lifestyle when she was younger. And maybe, she thought, her condition now was a fair punishment for her unbelief in the past. Then one day, a family friend, Dr. Caesar Milan, came to visit Charlotte. During their conversation, Dr. Milan asked her if she was at peace with God. She had answered Dr. Milan by saying, a bit guiltily, "I need to cleanse my own life before becoming a Christian. And even then, I don't think God would want me." Dr. Milan had just smiled and said to her, "Oh, dear Charlotte, just come as you are, and God will handle the rest." Soon after, with the doctor's kind words echoing in her head, Charlotte picked up a pen and paper. More for her own comfort than anything else, she began to write a simple poem about the Lord's power and promise, even to those who she believed were unworthy of His love, people like herself. In the months that followed, Charlotte's lines of verse had been set to music by William Bradbury, and it became a hymn. About 100 years after Charlotte wrote her little poem, it was a very well-known and very well-loved hymn. And then in 1934, a young man from North Carolina walked down the aisle at a revival meeting to give his heart to the Lord. Charlotte's hymn was the song playing as this man knelt down on his knees to pray. That man soon became the greatest evangelist of the 20th century, and one of the greatest evangelists since the Apostle Paul. He held services called crusades all over the world, filling large arenas and massive stadiums. Countless thousands of people gave their hearts to God at the end of these crusades. And the song that was always played and sung during these altar calls, that's right, Charlotte Elliott's little hymn. And the name of that evangelist was Reverend Billy Graham. This hymn was so important to Reverend Graham that he even borrowed its first 4 words to use as the title of his autobiography. We can never know just how many people were saved in places ranging from tiny country churches to mammoth sports stadiums as this very special song was played. Were these tens of thousands of people saved because of Charlotte's lyrics? No, of course not. But they were quite an important and beautiful part of the experience for a staggering number of God's children. This is quite a legacy left behind by a woman who had once considered herself useless. Just As I Am by Ms. Charlotte Elliott.
Just as I am, without one plea, but that thy blood was shed for me, and that thou bidst me come to thee, O Lamb of God, I come, just as I